Welcome to Guns and Gear Network, everyone. Wanted to bring you this video today. Thought it was a pretty important video, and it's about citizen sheepdogs and law enforcement. Since I've been doing my channel, I've been doing my channel for a little over a year now, and my subscribers are a mix of all types of people. Some of them are law enforcement. You can tell by their posts or videos, or their little about them type in their YouTube page, YouTube channel. Some are not. Some are preppers, survivalists. Some are homesteaders. So it's a big mix. Concerned citizens, all that stuff. So I've had some comment in some different videos. I had a couple. There's been a few comments that I've either deleted and or kept up in a couple of my videos. One of them being my EDC truck carry, and one being another video being the security video in Crap Hits the Fan. And it's between that and some of my past interactions with law enforcement, I decided to do this video. First off, this is not a police cop bashing video whatsoever. It's a conversation with law enforcement and with fellow citizen sheepdogs. Sometimes the law enforcement has this us and them mentality, and that can be problematic sometimes. If you look at history, law enforcement relationships with the citizenry has always been strained off and on throughout history, going back 1800s and beyond that, where they either trusted law enforcement, didn't trust law enforcement, had problems in certain towns, city areas, and so forth. Well, I'm looking at more of this on a national level. If you look in the black community, one of the complaints you'll hear from law enforcement, from district attorneys, from prosecutors, from mayors and everybody else, that to help them, it's very hard for them to solve crimes a lot of times, because in the black community, in many areas, they're not trusting of law enforcement. And so they have the mentality amongst themselves that snitches get stitches. So they don't tell police what they need to know to help solve crimes. Well, that's problematic for everyone. And so what happens is, when enough information is out, instances, situations is out about how police interacted with law-abiding gun owners, it can also be problematic for law enforcement, because they are losing ground, losing support from those people. Now, everyone I know personally supports law enforcement. They also are the type, because usually you hang around like-minded people. A lot of them are the type, if a law enforcement officer was on the side of the road and some guy was getting the best of them, and most of people I know would probably stop and help in some fashion. Some may even go to the point of getting out and physically helping the officer. It may be standing by, calling 911, standing by with the officer, at a distance. Just really depends. And everybody will have to make that decision. But some of my interactions with law enforcement, many of my interactions have been positive. Some of them have been negative throughout life. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today with law enforcement, is to have this conversation with you and the citizen, what I call a citizen sheepdog. If you look up the definition of a sheepdog, it's usually in like an urban style dictionary. It's basically someone And a lot of times they're referred to as law enforcement people, but there's also what I call citizen sheepdogs, and if you look at the definition, it's about a person that will help the flock, that will protect the flock, i.e. the sheep. So you have two types of people in this world. You have the sheep that go about their everyday life thinking that law enforcement, firefighters, everybody else will take care of them. They don't have to worry about really protecting themselves for the most part. They may lock their door at night. Don't get me wrong, but they just don't feel the need or the desire. They also are the type that would somebody on the stranded on the side of the road, or somebody on the side of the road getting their tail whooped by their husband. They would simply drive by. They may or may not even call 911. There's tons of videos on YouTube. Go find them. They're everywhere. Of average citizens at a bus stop, somebody getting the crap beat out of them, and they're sitting there texting on their phone and barely even looking up. Or somebody on the sidewalk that's obviously in bad situation as far as health or something, and they just walk right by. Literally, almost walk over them. I've seen videos where cops are begging for somebody to help them. And nobody helps. Matter of fact, there was a video of a bus driver I saw the other day. I think it popped up on Yahoo, but it wound up on YouTube too. A bus driver got confronted by an armed man. He fought with this person for like 8 or 9 minutes, and everyone on the bus, nobody would help them. Finally, somebody called 911 for him, but they were concerned more about getting to work on time. Literally, while he was fighting this armed man, they were fussing about him hurrying up so they could get to work on time. That's where society is in a lot of places and a lot today. So my point to this is, law enforcement officers, when you're out dealing with armed citizens, whether it be concealed carry or not, keep in mind that there's a lot of good guys, a lot of good girls out there that are on your side and that would step up and help you if you were in a bad situation. Because a lot of times backup is a long way away, and I don't care if that's only 5 minutes away. That's the longest 5 minutes of your life when you're fighting for it. And if somebody that is a responsible armed citizen could help you, you sure would like to have that help at that time, I can promise you. So, I've had some interactions with I had one with a deputy one time a few years back. Came up to my car, told him I was armed. He proceeded to take the firearm away, and he wound up writing me just matter of fact, he didn't even write me, he just gave me a verbal warning, said I was speeding, and brought my Glock back in about 12 pieces, not counting probably about 26, 28 pieces, counting he took every round of ammo out of the magazine. And just a terrible interaction, even though he gave me the warning. So had another one with a state trooper, stopped me again, said I was speeding. He did write me a ticket. Told him I was armed, took the gun away, was a real attitude about him the whole time. Brought my gun back, had unloaded it, and then tossed it in the floorboard and said, "Here, you can get that when you get up the road." Just a real bad attitude about it and about the firearm in general. Then I've had great interactions. Don't get me wrong, this is not about all negative. I had some great interactions with law enforcement. Pull up to a license checkpoint or something, tell the law enforcement officer, "Hey, I'm armed." He says, "Hey, I hope you are. Just don't touch yours, I won't touch mine," kind of attitude, kind of laughed. Told me to have a safe night, that sort of thing. Up the road I went. So it goes both ways. There's great law enforcement officers out there that support the armed citizen, don't get me wrong. I think where the breakdown is sometimes is in training from the higher ups to explain to these law enforcement officers. They should have mandatory training of some sort. I don't care if it's just for 3 or 4 hours every year of dealing with the what I call responsible armed citizen, because that's probably 90% of their interaction with somebody armed is now, because of everybody trying to get their concealed carry and so forth, and just the way society is today, a lot of armed people running around. And that's a good thing. So they need training on how to deal with the responsible armed citizen in a professional manner and so forth. And if you don't have that training, this is kind of what this video is about, to explain to you guys that the guy that or gal that you're a butthole to may be the one that would save your life on that next trip back through that same road when you're on the side of the road getting your butt whooped, or in a gunfight with a guy or two people, and this person may be willing to stop and help you out in that situation when backup is not there. So keep that in mind, that it's very important that you interact with these people in a positive manner. We're Americans. Most everybody that I know, of course, have that patriotic spirit, and want to help our fellow man, whether it be law enforcement or not, firefighters, EMTs, everybody, and just the general citizenry. That's the mentality of the people I hang around. So keep that in mind, that there's a lot of people out here that could actually help you, either give you information, testify in court. I've done that. I've actually done that numerous times in the last year or two. It's probably been 3 or 4 years. I've been to court once on a DWI case. Won't go into all the details of that, but I helped the trooper out because he didn't witness the DWI. I did, and she was convicted. So he was very appreciative of that and so forth, because she wrecked and caused a lot of problems and so forth. And but the average citizen, once they get a negative idea about cops, they it's pretty hard to get out of them. I know family members that have never been to jail or anything, but they have a really negative attitude towards police officers. And as much as I try to fix that, I just don't like cops. I just don't like cops. So that shouldn't be the attitude. I mean, it really shouldn't. I try instilling in my son. I live in a really good area, good town, and there's usually a deputy outside my kid's school in the morning, and I always tell my kid, go give him a high five. It'll make his day. And my kid thinks it's great. He'll go out, and as he's going up through out of the car and going up to into the class or into the school, he'll give the officer a high five, and I can see the officer smile. I do that for 2 reasons: to teach my son to be positive with law enforcement, and also to help the officer, better his day, because he'll know that he's being appreciated. So that's my point to this video. Also, with your citizen sheepdogs, are there wannabe cops out there? Sure, there are. However, most of them are not that way at all. But be mindful, if you're a citizen sheepdog, that what your role is in that. It's not being law enforcement. It's not anything like that. It's just helping law enforcement by being a good observer, to make mental notes about things that you see or in your neighborhood that you can call. Say, hey, I rode by my neighbor's house and the window screen was out of one of the windows when I rode by, and I just thought that was odd, or whatever the case may be. My neighbor's alarm went off the other week. First thing I did was grab my pistol and got in my car, and I didn't know which house it was. I just knew there was an alarm going off, and so I went up the road, found the alarm, pulled in, checked, called 911 as I was pulling in, said I'm at my neighbor's house. I kind of looked, make sure there's no vehicles around, anything like that. No, but long of the short of that was they had left the window. They left the door, didn't shut it all the way, and a gust of wind came through and opened it up and caused the alarm to go off. But try being a good neighbor, try being a good citizen, but yet know your role, as basically what I'm trying to say. Don't make it any more difficult for law enforcement. So that's my point to this. Law enforcement officers, if you're watching, just keep in mind that, you have to interact with the citizens in a positive manner to get a positive response back. If you act always in a negative tone all the time, you're not going to get somebody to help you, whether it be tell you about a situation and probably, and I'm just guessing here, probably, and I hadn't looked at the statistics, but if I had to guess, they're really high, that most crimes are solved by the help of a witness or a citizen. They're not solved by CSI type stuff. Yeah, that happens, and it happens a lot, but I promise you, even if you had the CSI gizmo whatever stuff that made it happen, having a witness, a good solid citizen witness nails the nail in the coffin that puts the bad guy in jail every time, usually. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep a positive interaction with armed citizens. I don't care if they're concealed carry or not, because a lot of times in some states it's very restrictive to get concealed carry, and somebody may have had some minor issue. And let me use this as the example. They were they got caught with a couple joints when they were younger, 18, 19 years old kind of thing. And because of that, now they can't conceal carry and in their particular state. Now, sometimes there may be time frames that are involved that says, oh, well, you're 30, that was a long time ago. They'll allow it based on their law. Sometimes maybe not. So keep that in mind, that sometimes people get themselves in a situation, maybe it was a domestic violence issue, and I've seen this happen a lot over the years, where a woman basically screamed, domestic violence, and really there was none. She was just trying to ruin the man, but it stuck on his record and so forth. I've seen the opposite of that, where the man may say that she did this, she did that. Next thing she's got a record. So there's still good people. There's people that turn their lives around, that can open carry. The laws are within their guidelines of being able to buy a firearm. They just can't carry it concealed. So don't look just because somebody doesn't have a concealed carry and they have a weapon on them that they're automatically a bad guy. Concealed carry obviously means that they've been through a little more training and or scrutiny. So some officers take that as, oh, he's a good guy. Well, and I understand that. But also keep in mind that this is the United States. We have the Second Amendment, and people have the right to carry firearms as long as you're within the law. So also keep in mind that there's people out here that don't have their concealed carry. I know some older people that carry a lot that don't have their concealed carry. They just have no desire to go get it, as much as I encourage them to go get it. So anyway, guys, that's my point of the video. I don't want to drag it out too long. I just want to warn law enforcement that your interaction with these citizen sheepdog people, the patriot people, the concerned citizen, responsible armed citizen, whatever you would like to call them, needs to be positive. And it will in turn help you in the long run. Could save your life one day. Could be that same guy that you were nice to. You can give a ticket and be nice, because most of these people understand, hey, I got caught, I was speeding. I understand that. But your interaction with them goes a long way with their total mentality towards law enforcement and their willingness to help you in a situation. So anyway, guys, just wanted to bring this up and discuss it with you, and thought it was a pretty important topic, and I appreciate you guys listening today. If you have any questions, post those below. If you have any similar situations or incidents, or positive or negative, post those below. I'd like to carry on a little conversation about the video with you guys and talk about that. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll give you another video shortly. Have a good day, guys.